Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, and we'll be discussing about pro-Puritan and anti-Puritan culture. And what are the arguments used for opposing and proposition of purity culture in fandom spaces? I'm going to answer those questions, so if you clicked on this video, you probably have heard of those buzzwords and are probably wondering what they are. Or you probably already have, and you probably want some discussion about it. I have been following content creators talking about quote-unquote purity culture in fandom, and I was curious about what it was. I thought purity culture in fandom was literally the movement that comes of
evangelical
Christianity. You know, the movement that emphasizes sexual absence outside of marriage, strict views on modest dress, stringent dating rules, and commitments and ceremonies and symbols like purity rings to signify a person's pledge to remain sexually pure until marriage. You know, because that's the actual definition of purity culture, and since I live near the Bible Belt, this is the crazy shit all day. And to hear purity culture entering fandom scared me because, well, fandom has made me feel very safe, and to have to re-experience religious trauma all over again is not great. But when content creators started describing this kind of purity culture, I was thrown off, because the definition of purity culture that they were talking about is an environment that develops mainly on Tumblr that criticized fans' use of certain problematic tropes and content in fan works. This is similar to or nearly the same as call-out culture and cancel culture. So that's basically the TDLR of it, and you may wonder, what is these problematic tropes? Well, these problematic tropes can contain non-con, rape, incest, pedophilia, and all kinds of taboo topics like, racism, anything forms of discrimination, and also any abusive relationship that is not depicted in a necessarily negative light. My take on this whole purity culture, whether it's proposition of it or opposition, is extremely nuanced. I feel like if pushed too far with the anti-side, it can turn into harassment and a lack of media comprehension. For example, someone on Reddit made a fanfic of two women in a relationship, and I assume it had smut in it, and this kid was attacking them, calling them a WLW fetisher while being a queer person themselves. Yeah, not a great thing. However, this can also go even worse and go into harassment and doxing and death threats. And this behavior is targeted at people who are not committing the crimes, in quotations, that these people think they are. And with this thinking, ships like Bill Ford and Bat Jokes and even Shadow Vanilla, which we'll get into later, please do not sacrifice me, can go into a really sticky situation, since they also fall in the trope of enemies to lovers and is also classified as toxic yaoi, so we'll get into that later. And that could be in jeopardy with, the anti-thinking or pro-Puritan thinking. However, with anti-Puritan thinking, if pushed too far, can allow believing that fiction doesn't affect reality, and said thinking, this can also go with the normalization of consuming lolicon/drawn CSAM material, or being okay with ships that include siblings, abuse, and pedophilia. Also, for future notice for the rest of this video, I will be calling purity culture and fandom just call-out culture, because I don't like the watering down of this term, and it kind of pisses me off as someone who is a survivor of religious trauma. I think we can have a happy medium between this call-out culture situation, because we can dislike ships that include incest, full-on abuse, and pedophilia without going full-on attack mode. Most people who proship are children who are being grouped into this behavior, and attacking them is not the way to go. If you attack these people, they are going to continue to do it. People will not listen to you and will not learn if you go full-on harassment on them. And I know it sucks, and I know that this behavior isn't okay, but we need to come in with understanding and tell them that this behavior isn't okay and that there is a road of recovery that they can take. However, that's with pro-shipping and the person who's pro-shipping is a child. When I thought about purity culture entering fandom spaces, I thought it was like people telling an adult Bayonetta cosplayer to quote-unquote cover up because she's intruding their Christian Minecraft server. If people are demonizing NSFW and adult spaces in fandom culture, I do believe that is something to call out. Adults deserve to have adult spaces, however that should be separated and monitored away from minors. If minors are running around in your space and you don't do anything about it, that is your fault. Not putting 18 plus in your bio and people see it and they are not so happy about it, that is a little bit of your fault because they should scroll away if they do not like it. However, you should have put a warning there in the first place. It's both your fault, I would say. Just, even though simply putting 18 plus isn't really enough because minors will still come in and that is your duty as the adult to block them. Obviously, in some instances, curiosity killed the cat or kids will break the rules and that isn't really your fault, but what you do and how you handle the situation will be your fault. I also think it's fine to participate in making NSFW art or fan fictions or of characters as long as it's not some non-con fantasy and involves incest or you're making it of a minor or minors. Entries, this is considered CSAM and will be punishable. I think this content should definitely be criticized. I don't think it's mentally good for any young, impressionable child to see this type of content, as it can desensitize them. I also don't think people who are making this content or consuming it is mentally okay and could be a threat to children. I'm not gonna get too into this topic because this video isn't about Lolicon, but I will recommend Duchess Celestia's video on this certain topic, which I do highly recommend because her video contains a medically licensed professional who talks about this and says that it is not okay, and even having such desires through fictional media is already concerning and endangering. So I don't want to hear any bullcrap of it doesn't hurt anybody if a professional is saying it is. If you don't like, don't read. I agree with this sentiment online, especially with fandom. If it contains a ship you do not like, do not read it. If it contains a ship you dislike, don't watch the animation. Don't interact with it, okay? Don't interact with the post. How hard is it? And I feel like this is just a problem with fandom in general. Like, the amount of times I've seen people will, like, interact with ships they don't like, and they'll be like, oh my god, I hate this ship so much. Then why did you click on it? There's a thing called scrolling away. And the ship wouldn't even be problematic, or would be considered a pro ship or a dark ship or whatever. It would be, like, just, like, two best friends, like, falling in love or whatever, and it's not abusive, and, like, they're both the same age, and they're, like, consenting to it. Like, guys, can we, like, not do this? Argument that I see that is for proposition of pro-shipping is that it's a coping mechanism. Not every coping mechanism is a good one. People drink, people smoke, people do all kinds of bad things as a coping mechanism. Your coping mechanism isn't a good one either. The traumatic event that happened to you is not your fault. You being groomed to this behavior is also not your fault. However, recovery is a road that you choose to take on and is your responsibility. Just because you were victimized does not mean you won't become the perpetrator. The steps you choose to get better is simply moving your own feet one by one. The goal isn't to be perfect, but is to be better than who you were before. And if that means getting out of this pro-shipping behavior, then do it. I have seen videos from people who used to be pro-shippers who recovered, and if they can, so can you. However, I don't necessarily believe in the bullying or harassment of these people because the majority of them are children, like I said. Does this excuse their actions? No. However, I do think about how young these people are and how they can go on the road to recovery. I don't think yelling at these people are going to do anything. In fact, it will make them want to continue this behavior, like I said before. But simply telling them that this behavior is concerning and they can get better is the way to go. However, that is if they're a child. If you are an adult in your 20s or older continuing this behavior, I'm afraid it's no longer a child who is crying for help. I think you desperately need therapy to sort this out, and you are also probably most likely a perpetrator. Okay, Now, let's get back to the whole, like, enemies to lovers trope, the whole, toxic yaoi, like, such as, like, bat jokes and Bill Ford, and including Shadow Vanilla, which I'm sure people are having very conflicted feelings right now, whether that is they hate it or they love it. There's no in-between. I'm going to be using Shadow Vanilla as my example with some in-betweens of bat jokes and Bill Ford. I have seen people go like, oh my god, toxic yaoi, but the minute they see Shadow Vanilla or bat jokes, they absolutely go insane and call it proship. But they can handle Bill Ford. When people ship things, it's not necessarily because they want to make it all sunshine and rainbows and they have a happy wedding and they kiss. No. It could be simply they are just intrigued by the dynamics and how it can go. And, like, literally not every ship is going to be sunshine and rainbows. And what I mean by that, couples have their quarrels. Some couples are star-crossed lovers. One may die before they get their happy ending. And it really annoys me when people who will claim that they're not for pro culture and fandom, but they exactly do that and act like the fandom police. Obviously, you should not be into Anna x Elsa because of their ship dynamic. That is yucky. But I understand why people would be so into these ships. Enemies to lovers and villains ex-heroes are a thing, and it always has been. And coming out about this, I love it. I really like Batman and Joker's relationship because they are literally obsessed with each other. Joker doesn't care about Harley, like his own girlfriend. Like, bro's only thoughts are what he can do to piss off Batman. Hell, in the Harley Quinn series, he chooses to fight Batman over her. Harley is his girlfriend, by the way. And also in the Lego movie, like, literally, Joker does not care for Harley. In fact, during the whole time, like, at the end of the movie, when they're trying to save the universe, Batman and, like, Joker go in this whole, like, conversation about how much they hate each other. Like, they hate each other to the rest of the world. Like, wow, that is really gay. I'm gonna be honest. Now let's go to Shadow Vanilla, because oh boy, what's going on is like the worst of pro cancel culture. You guys do not understand what it's like to be in the cookie run kingdom right now, especially on TikTok, because it's literally like the book 1984, and you're seeing Big Brother posters everywhere, and don't you dare ship Shadow Vanilla. A lot of people who despise this ship barely have any media comprehension, and also the harassment. If you are a Shadow Vanilla shipper and you post your art on TikTok, my absolute condolences, because a lot of their comment sections are, I really hope this isn't Shadow Vanilla. Oh, that's Shadow Vanilla. Like, did you not see the tags? Did you not see the romantic undertones in the artist's work? Like, it's obvious that they ship Shadow Vanilla, and if you do not like it, scroll away. Why do you have to make such a problem over this? And also, like, as an artist, and to have those comments on your comment section, that has to be super tiring. And literally, it must really suck to also have, like, even the nice ones go like, I don't really like Shadow Vanilla, but this is okay. Like, I'm gonna be so real as an artist. Like, if you don't like what the artist is drawing or the ship is, just compliment their art and go your merry way. And if you do not like it that much, but you still appreciate their art, I suggest just ignoring the posts in general. Guys, can we do that? And what pisses me off the most is that these people will be like, oh my god, Shadow Vanilla shippers are so toxic, while they leave nasty hate comments on people's posts who are not even doing anything. Like, they're not going out of their way to force people to ship Shadow Vanilla. They're just having their all good jolly old time. Like, this behavior is the example of when you take pro-cancel culture and fandom too far. I would get more into the whole Shadow Vanilla situation, however, I do not have enough time to talk about it, so I recommend the Kooky Yaoi That Destroyed a Fandom video by Zerka Millie. I'm not sure if they said their name right, but check their video, I'll link it in the description. I really like it. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, here's my take on the whole situation of the purity culture in fandom, or cancel culture, or whatever you want to call it. If you feel like there's something that I missed, please, put it in the comment section. Anyway, like this video if you really enjoyed this whole discussion, and subscribe maybe. I am officially logging off.